My guest this week on the show is Ahmed Sourour. Ahmed is a wealth management advisor with Reddington Sourour Advisory Group, who helps clients pursue their wealth management goals through careful advice and astute investment management. Ahmed joins the show today to talk about how he helps make complex simple for all his clients. I'm Paul Blanco, and this is Small Steps, Big Wins. All right, Ahmed, welcome to Small Steps, Big Wins. I'm so excited to have you here. And it's really rewarding for me to have you on the show, as I met you very early on in your career. And I watched you afar, how you were growing your business and what you've been able to accomplish. And I'm really excited to share that with all of our listeners, because you're living what most advisors want to live in this industry, starting out and then really building a business, growing a team, and all that good stuff. So welcome to the show, and excited about our partnership over the last 36 months. And it's been really great, like I said, now being involved with you. So welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. It feels like my business is actually starting now, which is unbelievable to say out loud, but I'm super excited for what's ahead with, our partnership together and all the capabilities that we're sort of bringing to the table for our clients. So the future looks great.
It is really great. So, well, let's dig in a little bit. Let's just get started from how did you get started in this career, and when did you get started and all that good stuff, and why?
Yeah, my path was not easy, I would say. Just my childhood, I was always told that I would have to go into the medical professional field. I'm first generation Egyptian. So my dad came over when he was 18. My mom came over when she was in her early 20s. My parents actually lived next door to one another in Egypt.
Oh, and wow.
Yeah, it's a crazy story, like literally balcony to balcony in Cairo. And my dad came over, and before he left, he said, "I'm going to come back for you." And he did. So he, built a business here. Eventually he went back to Egypt, brought my mom over, and, shortly later I was in the world. So, that kind of like the roots here is something that I didn't have because all my family was in Egypt. So to come into this business without an immediate family was, at that point in time in 2010, the way that you grew your business was through a natural market. But the way that I came into the business, I was, I went in pre-med to St. Joe's. I would say it wasn't my passion. So I didn't really put the 100% effort that I should have put into it. And then, my second choice was pharmacy school. So I graduated chemistry major, applied to Temple University for PharmD. And that summer, my mom got sick and I came back home. And, I was sort of like, what's next for me? Do I really go back to Philly and spend 3 to 4 years there and get my doctorate? Or, do I find something else to do? And I was in limbo. And my best friend, Patrick O'Keefe, was working at MetLife and out of the Bay Park office in Short Hills. And he's like, "You're not doing anything this summer. Why don't you come intern?" And I was like, that doesn't sound too good. And he said, "They'll pay you $800 a week." And I was like, wait, that sounds really good. So I took a leap of faith. The first day I started, Paul, he left. The day that I joined the organization, he left and went to Fidelity, and I was literally on an island by myself.
And he was supposed to be your mentor.
I thought that, but fortunate enough, I met Vinny Pace there, and, what I got from him was work ethic, discipline. And, the other individual that sort of has been my mentor, like my big brother, was Justin Williamson. And those are the two individuals that I spent the most time with and who are still in the business today. So it's pretty phenomenal. So that's how I got started.
Wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. And I'm glad that you made the decision you did, because the impact you're making on other advisors and some of your peers is amazing, but also the impact you're making on clients wouldn't have happened, and the industry needs people like you. So thank you for making that decision. So you get started like that. Was there a point along that journey that you were like, oh man, I don't know if I got myself in the right business? Or did you immediately say, like, this is all me and like, I know I'm going to crush this? Like, what were you thinking?
I would say the first year there was a lot of changes happened within that organization that I really didn't have my footing down. And when I was observing myself amongst others, I knew that I was smarter. I had other capabilities that I thought, they didn't have. They really weren't thinkers. They were great salespeople. And what I learned is I have to get really good at the sales technique, right? Being able to persuade people into making the best decisions for themselves. And it probably took me 2 to 3 years to get there. But consciously, I made the decision to, make this the priority, this business, but it wasn't in my subconscious yet. And I needed to have this this desire and this motivation to kind of have it transition into my subconscious. And that eventually happened. And I think the moment that it happened was when I had no other options. When I chose this career as my lifeline. And at that point, I think things changed for me where I just became more disciplined in my approach. That was a game-changing moment for me.
Yes, that's interesting that you, at some point you were all in. Like I always remember when I started as an advisor, I probably quit 3 times in the first year. And I was just being soft and, had a bad week or not the best week that I wanted. And it's interesting that you were mentally, as you said that you were all in, but you really, from a subconscious, you weren't once you did that. So that was a turning point for you. So that's really amazing. I know that you started your own team at some point in that. Did that happen pretty quickly, or was that something that you were more of a solo practitioner and just doing joint work with a lot of people? Or did you, when was your vision to build a team?
No, I never, if you asked me early on in my career if I would have a team, I would say no. I would always be a part of a team. And, I grew up around some great business owners, great advisors who instilled work ethic in me and how to run a practice. George Riley, Devang Patel, these are 2 inspirational people for me. And what I came to realize earlier on was I can do this on my own. The way they did it was great, but, I had a certain realization that, there are things they're missing and there's things that I want to do on my own. And not until 2020 is when I said, what, let me build a team where I can help the advisors that are in this program do the things that I did that made me successful. Those are individuals that ran a business differently based on sort of their natural market, their resources, their strategic partners that they work with, which was different than the way that I grew my business. And, with Barnum and the resources that we have, the approach needs to be a little bit different. And I realized that earlier on. And I noticed that the advisors that were coming to the organization just didn't have that leadership with how to maximize the program. So at that moment, I had, a few guys approach me, they saw what I was doing, and I just said, all right, let's start. And what I noticed is there's an impact that I found, I found to be rewarding for myself. And then since then, there has been a devotion to carry that forward and give back.
Yeah, that's amazing. That really hits home with me because I was an advisor for 2.5 years, and I always was a leader, but my biggest fear of going into leadership was not being an advisor again, right? But my biggest opportunity was to impact so many lives like you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and which is truly exciting. So why don't you give me what's the team look like today?
We have 5, I would say, new advisors, but literally have been here for 3 to 4 years. I think as a whole, we have 4 staff members that, I feel like at some point I will probably have more staff than advisors. And that's more for the direction of where our business is going. But I would say, I think the problem with a new advisor coming in is the mindset isn't asset gathering. Right. And I think the shift to being an asset gatherer earlier on just allows you to be successful quicker. I think when an advisor comes in and they're more focused on the stock market or the investment world, that they're missing something that's critical to being a financial advisor, which is you got to spend the majority of your day and overall time in the business being an asset gatherer. and then learn along the way, right? And then if you can plug into a system or a process like a team, like what we've built, it just gets you, your learning curve shortens, right? A lot quicker, and you don't have to do a lot of the work that kind of boggles you down. So the quicker you can get to that moment in time, I think, and for our advisors, I noticed, even for myself, Paul, the 5-year mark is really important. Like if you can sit in a seat and work, we always say 100 dials a day. If you can do that for 5 years, that's the ultimate challenge. But if you can get there, right, that's where, we ran the numbers that's where the likelihood that you'll be the best advisor you can be is in your favor.
Two things, right? You're in the beginning of your career overworked and underpaid, and then underworked and overpaid. The latter part. The other thing is that you're right, what you're saying instinctively, but the industry, once you hit the 5-year mark, there's a 90% retention rate in the industry. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, there's only a 7%.
Wow.
Here at Barnum, we're closer to 50% in the first 4 years due to the things that we've built. But I think that they're very fortunate to have someone like you that's helping them get through some of that learning curve and do it. And listen, as a solo practitioner today, there is a lot of mind games that it plays, and being around people and be able to share the wins and the losses together and some of the things that you have to go through into your business is a really big deal, So I think that's a great thing.
Yeah. Like, that saying about, you can go fast or you can go farther by going together. I forget the saying there, but, that really, like I thought I was doing pretty well, up until I formed a team and had like staff where I'm committed to, and, I want to hire A people. And, I noticed that if I was a B person, I would hire C people. So that, all these sayings really hit home for me. But, the amount of growth that we've had since forming a team has been pretty remarkable. Then I take a look at the 2028 vision that Barnum has and where we'll be at that point. And the sky's the limit, really. And that's only 4 years away.
It goes fast. And, it's interesting when you say that. So I think, it's a big thing for you was 2020. A lot happened for you in 2020. You had 10 years under your belt. You knew you were an entrepreneur. You knew you wanted to lead, but you just weren't sure how to do it yet. COVID hits. And I say this pretty much on every show, right? COVID, so much bad happened. And you think back to when in that March, weekend when we were told we couldn't go to work, and you think, wow, what was that all about? Right. But so much good came of it in the sense of access to more clients. And at that same time, COVID happened. It made you more efficient. You then formed a team and you partnered with Barnum and you got really dug into transition solutions. You already had been doing a ton of work in PlanSmart, which is, for the listeners out there, PlanSmart is where we teach financial education in the workplace. And I know, Ahmed, you were doing that probably for the last 7 or 8 years prior to that. I think that was a major turning point for you. And you probably felt like you had a fire hose coming at you in 2020.
Yeah, it's such a weird time. It was, I would say the moment in my career where things changed before COVID was 2014, where I was in New York City. We were doing a PlanSmart RetireWise workshop, and I forget who didn't show up, and it was me. And I was there, and then the pressure was on, and I had to present in a boardroom on the 47th floor of a corporate office. And I was 4 years in. So like I probably knew more than the audience, but I was, the fear set in of, what if you sound ridiculous, or what if the topic doesn't go as planned? And I just stepped up to the plate, Paul. And I think that moment, after I was drenched in sweat, but it was, I was just super, like the competitive spirit came out. But that was a turning point where, I had more confidence in my ability. Right. And then, that was in-person live event. Fast forward to COVID, where now everything went virtual, and the access that we had at that point was now national. Right. So, my confidence level in person transitioned to, a virtual confidence level where I was able to inspire more people, educate more people. I had more reach through that platform, that helped us continue to spread the message, right? Which is, we're able to provide really great advice to people that need it.
Yeah, and let's stay on that for a second. My journey, and part of the reason I started this podcast, Small Steps, Big Wins, and please make sure for the listeners that you go online and go back and listen to all the episodes. It'll help you to grow. But I did that because the industry has truly been shrinking since I've been in the business 31 years, and there's about 300,000 advisors. The average is about 40% of them over 55. Right? Not a lot of young advisors like you in the business, only 9% over 30, under 30, I should say. And the word you said is the need for advice is greater than it's ever been, and to inspire clients. So I'd love to understand, like I remember as an advisor, and remember, I only started out really the last year that I was an advisor, we started to do some asset gathering, but it was really the protection side. But I remember I was out a lot at night, young couples, and would help them execute the plan, and they were protected now and they were on this right path. And I couldn't even go to sleep. It was like I scored a touchdown. I was so inspired. And I mean, you use that word and it made me think about that. How are you feeling? So now you have 5 other advisors with you and 4 staff that are helping you to make sure clients are financially secure. How does it feel, like the impact you're making each day?
It's super rewarding. The reason that I do what I do and the reason I can't sleep at night is really the ultimate desire that I have is to help as many people as I can. And, it at points in time where you don't really connect with people, but you can help them, that takes a toll on me. And I'm trying to create these boundaries where it doesn't. And, I have a lot of coaches, both business coaches and, motivational coaches. And, that's something that I think it's just my design in general. Like I just really want to have an impact for everyone. And that's why I have a craze on getting knowledge, right? And I think most advisors, again, we talked about it. They spend a lot of their time on asset gathering, where I spend, I try to spend 80% of my time thinking about the market. And the ability for me to be a really great investor personally helps my clients become really great investors. So, I try to spend most of my time there, and the team allows me to continue to spend time there where they're bringing the people in. And based on our process, they're meeting with the right professionals throughout, the cycle, right? So they're meeting with a financial planner to start. That financial planner is assessing where they stand and sort of what their goals are. And then I come in as the wealth manager to give the advice, right? To have impact. And then based on that counsel, those clients or those prospects have a decision to work with us or stay a course, right? Stay the way that they have been. So if we can persuade more people to take action, that allows us to feel really good and they become successful. And ultimately, that helps our business. And, for me, I want to keep clients. I'm 38 now, Paul. I want to keep clients, for the next 40, 50 years, right? If possible. So I understand that I need to build the infrastructure. I need to build the business. And I get more excited about the business, like what we're running here, the operation. I get more excited about that than I do on like the personal production number. That's irrelevant for me. I just feel really good that I know that no matter where I am in the world, that the business is operating at full capacity.
Well, that's a huge point for you to, you've broke through to the top 0.5% of the industry and you're really just getting started. But the crazy thing about the business is it's very hard to do that as a solo practitioner. So you've built a model now, and many advisors, if you think about some other industries out there, I think about a lot, the construction industry, because I've dealt with lots of people in that field over the years personally. And there's many of them that are really great at their craft, but they're really terrible at running a business. And when you think about, a leap of faith you've made and growing up, as you said earlier in the show, growing up in a family that was more entrepreneurial and now being able to run a business, not every advisor is able to do that. And you're building a business that while you're not there is still running and you get to do what you're really great at. And it becomes really functional. If you look at most sports today, most sports have become like that. It's become a specialized industry. Where you were going before in the medical industry became very specialized. So I think that's a game changer. So let's spend some time on that. You've broke through, it's, 15 years later, it's obviously your career. You're looking out, 20, 30, 40 years with your clientele. What's next for you and the team?
I think I need to bring I think a sport like basketball teams, and you look at that Miami Heat team with LeBron and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, and they were all great players prior to joining up. So that's what I need my advisors to get to, is sort of they're great in their own way, but really having the confidence that with the team approach that we're going to win championships. And the championship isn't to be the number one team, but to be the best that we can be based on the resources that we have. So I need to invest more in the people that can help us grow the business. So that staff, I wouldn't be where I am today without the staff that I have, right? So they are, I think, the best people I could have found to run our operation and the way that we do business, Paul. Like, our business is really wealth management in the scope of investment management, financial planning. And what I need to bring to the table, like where I try to spend more time, is upskilling myself. So spending a lot of time on like tax strategies, understanding the IRS code. Like, I try to be a CPA and enrolled agent in one. I think that allows me to differentiate myself to our clients. So these are things that I'm constantly trying to get better at. And, we don't get to the next step without the right people in our organization. So, and that starts with me, with the culture. And I spend a lot of time on that. It's like the culture drives me. Like, I try to make it a healthy working environment. But obviously, we're all people, right? We're all humans. So, there are times where we lose track of things. And, I think it's my job. It's sort of like the book Good to Great, right?
I was just going to say that, but keep going though. I want to hear what you.
Yeah. Like, I look at the different levels there, in terms of being, I think it's the 5th level CEO. And I don't know where I stand in that. I think that's an assessment that I should take some time and kind of dive in. But, I lead by example. I try to allow every advisor or every staff member to think on their own. So really empowering them to make the best decision for the organization. But they won't know the best decision unless they know where we're going, right?
You have to create that vision, which is awesome.
Yeah. And I think, I spend a lot of time there, which is exciting. I mean, that's what keeps me going, right?
Well, it was nice for me to hear back that only 4 days ago, or 3 business days ago, I showed the 28 vision, and you've already shared that with your team, and you've internalized it, right? So, and that's going to help you out.
You use this a lot, the 4-minute mile, and I've heard of it, but the more you say it, the more it resonates in my soul that, what you think your limit is or what your capabilities are is nowhere near what's possible.
Yeah. And I haven't even built up on that thing. If you read about it, they said it wasn't even physically possible for someone to do it. And then one person does it. And then 32 people do it the next year, within a year, so I really believe that. And where I was going on Good to Great, when you were talking about the team and the staff, right? One of my favorite strategies in that book is and you kind of went there, getting the right people on the bus, right? That, to the point you said, is they have to fit the culture. They have to be part of this culture, and they can be the right people, and then get them in the right seat, right? Because someone might come on the team making it up and be a generalist as an advisor, and then they really have a passion like you do for wealth management, or they have a passion, as you keep referring to, financial planning, that they become the head of financial planning for your team, but they already fit the culture and they have a skill set. Now you just got to get them in the right seats. And as you, as an advisor, become, a player coach, it's really critical that you're paying attention to those things and it's a really hard role, because what you're really good at, and you said it earlier, I think what's critical is the team has to free you up to do what you're really great at, right? And, I got your analogy. It was a really good one, but I really hated that you used the Miami Heat. The Knicks fan, with the season getting ready to start any day.
I think this Knicks team will change.
You don't have to backpedal on.
I'm a Knicks fan. I'm a diehard Knicks fan, Paul. So I get it.
I watched that team all the way through, and you're right. Think about that. it was a great analogy. You got three individuals that were really great, but came together and won at a different level than they could have if they were separate, right? And that's what we've tried to create here at Barnum. So you should be super proud. So let's talk about a real important subject. All this doesn't happen if you as a leader don't execute the simple strategies that you have. And I've been using a phrase recently. It's evolution versus revolution, right? It's games of inches. And you think about most of the best teams in the world, it might be they're one player short, or maybe they're conditioning because too many guys are getting injured. It's very minuscule things. So when you think of yourself and the future, and let's just go out 2028, how are you thinking about execution for your team?
You mean just getting the team to grow?
Yeah, and just thinking about some of the things you have to actually put into your practice on a day-to-day basis. Like, do you strategize with your coaches? Do you brainstorm with the team? Is someone on the team helping you to execute at a high level? Because you're not just growing by mistake. You're actually doing things that are getting you there.
Yeah, I would say, the saying amateurs copy, professionals steal is something that I've, over the course of my career, I've extracted so much great processes and strategies from people in our business, but even business owners outside that are entrepreneurial and successful. So for me, it's I'm a nut about process. And, even our Barnum Top Advisor workshop last week, getting it down on paper, it's in my mind, Paul, and, the execution comes from me elaborating on it to the staff, and then they carry it out and I oversee that. But getting it down on paper, and then, now it's defined, and then we consistently refine it. I think over the next year, I think 2025, it's making sure that we have a process that is defined for every part of our business, from the start of a client interaction to the onboarding, and then from there, the servicing and ongoing value add that we need to deliver on. I would say where our business is going, with AI now, with the access to information that people have, people are going to want to have a more, I don't want to say relationship-oriented experience with their advisor, but more impactful. So
you're going to be a life coach.
Exactly. Through the goods and the bads of life, right? But, we need to understand where our clients are throughout the year, right? And our awareness of a job change or a retirement or, selling their business or, whatever the case may be, a grandchild coming into their lives. We need to be aware of these things so we can have impact. And so that I would say that data from our clients, and then the execution of it to constantly provide value back to them. I think that's what AI really can't do. That's what a robo-advisor can't do. That's what these other institutions don't focus on. And that's what people care about the most.
And what you're talking about and the practice you've already built it's built to last. And I agree with you. I think a lot of those things have come along. When I started, it was direct mail. Then there was robos. Then there was, no one's going to meet with anyone. And there's this service model, but life is changing so fast and the cookie cutter approach does not work like people think it could. And that's where advisors, especially advisors that are knowledging up, building the right infrastructure and have this bold vision for themselves is going to really take over. So last question for you is, when I look at 2020 to really even for you, 2022 to 24, you have this amazing momentum and you have this energy. Like we talked prior to, you're in there and you're focused. How are you going to keep the momentum?
For me, it's discipline and accountability for myself, Paul. So, every morning I like to show gratitude. I need to do this more, but I generally call my mom first thing in the morning because she keeps it light. She tells me how much she loves me. And then I feel grateful for that. And, I start my day off but it's sort of like, how do I spend my time thinking about myself? And if I can spend my time thinking about how amazing I am as a person, the impact that I have to my clients, being a great husband, it just gives me the energy that I need to stay, to keep this sustainable. So, for me, it's keeping that momentum, right? But also the discipline behind what allows our team to be successful. And successful means like having an impact on our clients. It's not about, the revenue that we're bringing in. It's more of, how many people can we help? And we want to help good people, right? People that care about their family.
And revenue will follow.
And the money will come. And our clients, the way that we engage our clients and work with them is based on advice, right? So if the advice isn't there, we lose the revenue. If the advice is there, the revenue continues. And as they do well, we do well. I think it's the best business model to have when you're looking at what's ahead, right? And all the competition that's out there. So this is what fuels me. But staying focused, having the blinders on, investing back in our team and our infrastructure, and really just having processes that keep us in line, right? Keep us in line and being effective. I think that's what's going to keep us, keep the momentum going.
Love it. I love the business part of it, but I love what you said in the beginning, because if you become a complete person and you make all those things in life work for you and you do your best to get better at everything, it just resonates in personally and professionally. And you should be super proud. I love what the team has done and what you're doing as a leader. I love hearing the story from the beginning. But what I will say is you're in a very competitive industry. You've proven to separate yourself from the pack. And, my short time that I got to work with you the last 4 years, I'm super proud of what you've created. And I know that I say this all the time, but it's not cliche. It's because it's the truth. The best is yet to come. So stay focused, keep executing on those things. Thank you for sharing. For the people that are listening to the show today and driving, go back and re-listen to some of the things here. There's probably 10 or 15 nuggets that you should be writing down, as Ahmed said, and memorialize it so that you go and execute. So Ahmed, keep this energy. Like I said, super
Thank
proud.
Thank you for listening
and,
to
everyone
Small
make sure
Steps,
you listen to this on
Big
Apple,
Wins.
Spotify.
Please rate,
and share with your
review,
friends.
and subscribe
give
on
us
Apple
5-star ratings
Podcasts,
as we deserve.
Spotify,
Thanks again.
or wherever you listen to your podcast.
Got it. Have a great rest of the day.
All opinions expressed by the program participants are solely their current opinions and do not reflect the opinions their respective parent companies or affiliates or the companies with which the program participants are affiliated. Investments or strategies mentioned in this program may not be suitable for you, and you should make your own independent decision regarding them. This material does not take into account your particular investment objectives, financial situation, or needs, and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for you. You should strongly consider seeking advice from your own investment advisor. Securities and investment advisory services offered through qualified registered representatives of MML Investor Services, LLC. Member SIPC, 6 Corporate Drive, Shelton, Connecticut, 06484, telephone number 203-513-6000.